Now, boom, Jesus always offers us, secondly, not only purity in a sea of filth, but truth in a world of lies. They're in the most deceived, lying time in history. And it says, and in their mouth was no lie found, for they were blameless. Well, what's blameless? Does that mean sinless? No. By the way, when the archaeologists excavated Thessalonica, I don't know if you've had Thessalonians yet, first and second, but when the French archaeologists went and excavated the city of Thessalonica, the part from the Bible, they were digging around, they went and they found a cemetery, and so they put a tent over it, and they started digging, and finally, after a few days, one of the archaeologists says, we found something, and it was a slab, and so, you know how archaeologists do, they take their little brushes and they're brushing off, and they go, it has writing on it, and so they all gathered around, and this is in the 1890s, and they brush it off, and they go, we found the burial place of a family. Record the name in the journal of our archaeological excavation. Amemptos. A-M-E-P-T-O-S. Amemptos. So they kept digging. And 2 days later, they found another slab. And they brushed it off, and they went, Amemptos. Amemptos. After months of excavating, every tomb or every burial stone in this cemetery had the same family name, they thought. And then they realized, because they were a Christian excavation, that's a word out of 1 Thessalonians. You know what Paul says? To the end that God may preserve you amemptos until the coming of Jesus Christ. That's a word Paul used to describe a justified Christian. Do you remember what justification is? Justification is that the penalty and the record of my sin is forever gone. Because God punished Jesus like he committed all my sins, and he put the record of the sins on Jesus. That's the doctrine of justification. Paul taught that to the Thessalonians, and you know what they all said? That's what I want to be. I want to be buried telling the whole world that comes to visit my grave in the cemetery that I am blameless. That word, blameless, in 1 Thessalonians is amemptos. That's what they were. They weren't perfect. They knew their sins were all gone. They were erased. The record of them is gone. And the penalty is forever on Christ. And so they have purity. They have truth. And here's the last one. That means God can sanctify us anywhere and all the time if we allow him to. We could put it another way. God can deliver you anywhere. He can deliver you here. Did you know sin and temptation has no boundaries? I was accosted by a missions team member, a Christian from Canada. By the way, she wrote me a letter. I got back to school. I was in Bible school like you. She found my address from the mission and wrote an apology letter to me when I was at Bible school, and she said this. She said, I want you to know I watched you walk around at the team headquarters memorizing your verses. Remember I told you we all thought we were going to go to jail, and so we memorized whole books of the Bible? And so I was memorizing 1 Timothy and just working away on it, and she would watch me out the window, and she said, I decided I'd find out which of the boys on the team, there were 15 boys on the team, how many of them were serious about the Lord. And she said, you know what? 14 of them took me up on the offer. She said, you were the only one. She said, I'll never forget, you pulled your backpack and cot and said, I'll set nothing evil. And she said, I would like to apologize. And I thought, you defiled, I'm sure it was mutual, you and 14 guys? Wow, that's Christians. God can deliver you anywhere. We're supposed to be wary, be on guard. How does God deliver? Well, he delivers healthy Christians. The 14 that messed around with that girl were sick Christians, if they were even Christians. I don't know. I didn't know them very well. But God says there's only healthy and sick Christians. The question is, which are you? These 144,000, we know how they got blameless, how they were justified. They were saved just like we get saved. They were saved through the Word of God and through the gospel and through the truth of Jesus Christ.